Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan, a podcast for anyone wanting to start, grow or scale a profitable creative product business with me, Catherine Erdley. The Resilient Retail Game Plan is a podcast dedicated to one thing, breaking down the concepts and tools that I've gathered from 20 years in the retail industry and showing you how you can use them in your business. This is the real nuts and bolts of running a successful product business, broken down in an easy, accessible way. This is not a podcast about learning how to make your business look good. It's the tools and techniques that will make you and your business feel good. Confidently plan, launch and manage your products, and feel in control of your sales numbers and cash flow to help you build a resilient retail business. Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan. Hi everybody, it's your host Catherine Erdley, as well as the founder of the Resilient Retail Club, which is my membership group and mastermind for product businesses. Find out more at resilientretailclub.com. And if you're determined to have the best Christmas yet, then go to resilientretailclub.com, click on membership, and you can see all the details of our amazing Christmas summit. It is kicking off on Monday, the 18th of September. I can't wait for you to join us. It's just for club members, but if you want to join us before the 18th of September, you get half off your first month. We have got expert sessions, people covering all different topics about marketing, selling, getting ready for Christmas, as well as our Christmas strategy session and Christmas promotional planning sessions and so much more, as well as co-working sessions. So at the end of those 2 weeks, you have got a really great idea of what's ahead for Christmas, as well as putting your plans in place. So go to resilientretailclub.com, click on the membership and have a look at the details. We would love to have you. And if you're already a member, then get ready because this is exciting. So today's podcast is all about how you strategize for Christmas success. In this episode, we're going to go through the art of strategic planning. Don't leave your Christmas selling success to chance, plan it out. We're going to be talking about the importance of strategic planning in achieving your Christmas sales goals. And we're going to be going through steps to help you create a successful holiday plan. First of all, why do we need to be so focused on Christmas? So we have talked in previous episodes about the importance of Christmas. Last episode, we talked about my outlook and just want to reiterate that the importance of Christmas for small product businesses cannot be underestimated. It has been a choppy year, let's face it. We know it's been a choppy year. But this is the time of year where your customer has money to spend and they are looking to spend it with independent businesses. So this is your chance. If you have had a choppy year, you want to make sure that you position yourself in the best place possible to take advantage of the fourth quarter. It is not unusual for me to work with people who take half, sometimes even 3/4 of their annual sales in the fourth quarter. So it can literally make or break your year, and it is well worth the time it takes to sit and go through everything and make sure that you're ready for that time period. However, it is also the time of year where everybody else, every other retailer, every other big retailer, every other small retailer, they're also aware of the opportunity. They are going to be tuned in to the possibilities of that fourth quarter, and they're going to be competing for sales too. So it is an extremely competitive time of year. Everybody brings out the big guns at Christmas. So it is not quite as simple as just waiting for extra sales to come in. You need to be really well prepared with your products planned out, with your promotional strategy planned out, with everything planned out, ready to go. And the first thing that I would suggest is you need to take some time to set yourself some clear objectives. So when it comes to strategic planning really, it's just like planning a trip. I like to think of it in the same way. People often don't like the word strategy, whereas strategy is really a series of steps to achieve a goal. And they often feel like, well, strategic planning, then it just seems, some people find it an overwhelming concept, or they just don't really get what they're supposed to be doing. But I like to think of it as in, if you're going on holiday, then you have to go through very similar steps really to putting together a strategic plan. And the first thing that you have to do is decide where you're going. And it's exactly the same when it comes to planning out your Christmas sales. So the first thing that I want you to do is to think about where you are trying to go this Christmas. What is your goal? And set yourself some clear objectives. There is a technique for setting goals, which is SMART goals. So SMART goals are specific, they're measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So in other words, instead of just saying, oh, I want to sell more this Christmas, you might want to say, I would like to increase my Christmas sales by 20% on the previous year. And that is looking at the time periods through October, November, December. So when you are setting yourself goals, do try and make sure that they are specific, that they are measurable. Make sure that they're realistic too. I always say when it comes to setting sales goals, you want it to be straddling that line between it feeling exciting. So think, yes, I'm going to go for it. This is the number I'm going to go for, but not completely overwhelming. Because if you set yourself a goal that feels really overwhelming, then it can just lead to paralysis or inaction. So make sure that when you have these goals that you do make them realistic. And then also just make sure you know exactly what time period you're talking about. What are your peak time periods? What are your peak sales times? And what do you want to take during those months? Inside the Resilient Retail Club, when we do our Christmas strategy session, we have a spreadsheet that plans out that we've got October, November, December all broken out. But then the first sheet that we use has a breakdown of exactly what we want to take each month, and then also a flow of our messaging and what's going to be happening each week before we break it down actually by day to help really plan out across those months what our messaging is going to be. So the first thing that I always ask people to do is to set themselves a goal. And why is that important? Well, it's important for you to take that time to just really reflect on where you want to go. And some people will have differing goals. Some people will say, we're going to go for it this Christmas. We've had a tough year and I want to really push it, want to recoup sales. Some people will say, we've had a brilliant year and I'd love to see how far we can take Christmas. That can be an objective. Some of you may be feeling, do you know what? I just want to get through the fourth quarter without staying up till 3 a.m. I just don't want to be stressed out during Christmas. I actually am happy to do the same sales as last year, but with more support. Or maybe I actually am happy to take slightly less sales than last year if it means that I don't feel completely wrecked by the end of the fourth quarter. So really everything that you do should come down to what you want as a product business owner. And it is really important that you take that time to connect with what it is that you want and not what it is that somebody else thinks that you should want. So make sure that you are taking that time to really think about it. And that's the great thing about the Christmas strategy sessions that we have in the club, is it is that time for you to really take a pause and to connect with what it is that you actually want to do. Once you've done that, you can set your specific goals, your SMART goals, if you like, and you can then have those in place and know that everything that you're doing from there on out for your Christmas planning is based on those SMART goals. Next up is looking at your past performance. So I have talked in previous episodes. So for example, episode 154 earlier this year, 7 ways that you can use the summer to get ready for Christmas. I go into this in a little bit more detail, so do feel free to have a listen to that episode. But basically everything that you do for your Christmas planning, and you could do this, in fact, in the club, we do it in January. We use January to recap what happened at Christmas. But everything that you do, use last year as a basis. Sometimes what you'll be doing from last year is saying, I don't want this to happen again. Sometimes what you'll be doing is looking at certain products that worked well. And what you want to do is there's a specific way of going through the year, looking at what worked and what added value, what didn't work, and identifying the areas within your business that need tweaking, refining, and improving for this year. And it's a really powerful process, and it can just help you get ready and try and avoid the pitfalls. Now, the thing is that every single year, something different will happen. I've worked with a few clients on their Christmas plans, which has been brilliant. And several of them have said to me, okay, I've done this, I've done that. I've covered off this issue from last year. I've taken steps to account for this problem. I've put extra support in place. I've got extra people in to help at key times. And they've gone through and they've addressed all of the issues that they had last year. Then they're saying, okay, is there anything else that I can be doing? to a certain extent, you just have to accept that when it is the busiest time of year, you are going to find things that come up that you simply cannot foresee. All you can do is address the issues that you had last year and maybe address anything that's been rumbling on throughout the business during the year that you're currently having. And then you just have to see what happens. Don't be surprised if other things come up, because every single year you'll refine this model. You will refine and add to things. And it is a process. It's an ongoing process. I've worked in multi-million, £100 million retailers, and every single January we would do the same thing. We would go through and we'd look at our lessons learnt and we would tweak things for the next year. You're never going to have a perfect Christmas. There's no such thing, really. But each year you're going to get a little bit better, a little bit improved. I always think about it. I used to do this. It's a useful process in life in general. It may sound ridiculous, but I used to use this with camping trips. After every time we went camping with small children, I would refine my packing list and I would say, you know what, we really could have benefited from this. Things like, for example, make sure that my son had a book to read first thing in the morning when he woke up earlier than everybody else when he was younger. And over time, it meant that, of course, there were still things that were stressful. Of course, things would go wrong when we went there, from the time that there was torrential rain to people falling out of trees and all sorts of things. But overall, it meant that I was feeling more confident in being prepared, and I had a better list and a better way of getting myself ready for it. And this is what you're aiming for with Christmas. You can't iron out all the kinks. You can't stop Royal Mail going on strike, as in last year, or COVID or anything like that. But what you can do is just keep refining it. Just keep thinking about it like this. This is one Christmas of many, hopefully, in your business. So just amend what you can from last year and then get yourself ready to go again for this year. The other thing that I'd really encourage you to do as part of your strategic planning process is to be thinking about your target audience. So your ideal customer, it's a concept that I'm sure you've heard a million times. Thinking about who your ideal customer is, thinking about who they are, what products would appeal to them, thinking about what messaging would appeal to them. All of that really helps you with a lot of clarity with your messaging, with your product selection and everything else. I would suggest that at Christmas, it's always worth thinking specifically, not just about your ideal customer, but about your ideal customer at Christmas. So for example, the difference between that is, let's say you've identified that your ideal customer is a mother and she's in her 30s and she has young children, and these are the kind of things she's concerned about: the environment, she's concerned about living sustainably. So that is your ideal customer avatar. That's you understanding various different demographic and also what they call psychographic details about your customers. However, what's also really useful, and it's a really good piece of work to do before you get too far into coming up with your ideas for your marketing and everything else, is to just think about that particular person at Christmas. So I always find it really powerful to write in the first person as your ideal customer. So write yourself a page or just half a page, or take 15 minutes, however works best for you, and just write, I know it's Christmas coming up. Just journal. What are they thinking about? Are they worried about fitting everyone around the Christmas table? Are they worried about the amount of plastic in the toys that the kids are going to get given by their relatives? All of these sorts of things are really helpful because they help you just tap into that mindset, not just of your customer in general, but how they are right now. And that's the kind of detail and the kind of touches that if you incorporate, it doesn't need to be a lot, but into your emails, into your social media, then you'll really resonate with them. You are looking for the language that people use, the things that they're thinking about, the things that they're concerned about, and it can really help you set the tone correctly at Christmas. So don't forget to think about your ideal customer. Many of you will have one customer avatar. Some of you will have several. And for each one, if you're a person who has more than one, then make sure you do this exercise for each one of them so you understand about the different groups. Next step when it comes to strategic planning then is creating your holiday calendar. So this is the template that we use in the Resilient Retail Club when we do our Christmas strategy sessions. However, it's something that I recommend for absolutely everybody. You need something that is structured. You need to have it written down somewhere, somehow. Whether that is on Post-it notes, whether that is on a flip chart, whether that is on a wall planner or in a spreadsheet, whatever works for you, then it's really important that you get it down. Even if it's just you, then it's important that you get it down so that each week you know what's happening before you get into that brain fog of it being the run up to Christmas and you're busy and you're just not even thinking clearly about, right, what's coming next. You're just able to look at the planner and know what the plan is. If you have a team, it's even more important because then that's when you can pull them together, keep them organized and maximize your efficiency as a team. And it should be covering lots of different elements from product launches, any promotions, any particular messaging that you're having each week. And I have a whole system of working through so you're really clear on your theme for each week. And then that can help you pull in line everything that you're doing, from your emails to any blog posts you might be doing and any of your social media. So I would say your holiday calendar is probably, or your Christmas calendar is probably the most important document to come out of strategic planning, which is why we focus on it in our strategic planning sessions in the club. It is something that is really just there to keep you on track when things get busy. The more you can pre-prepare, the better, especially if you've used some of the summertime to get yourself ready, that's even better. But even if you've not managed to batch create things, maybe there's still time during September, but equally just having everything mapped out will just make it so much easier. Next thing to consider as part of your strategic planning is the proper management of your stock. If you look in my book, Tame Your Tiger, How to Stop Your Product Business Eating You Alive, whole chapters on stock plans and how to set them. This is absolutely crucial in the run up to Christmas. The key things here, and I touched on this in episode 154 as well, is knowing what your hero products are going to be. What are going to be the products that are really going to be driving the sales at Christmas? How are you going to make sure that you've got enough stock of those? Have you planned out what they are? Have you checked that you've got enough stock? Have you placed any orders that you need to? That's the absolute bare minimum. So you want to make sure that not only are you covering yourself for your hero products, but you also want to go through and look and make sure that you haven't overcommitted to what I call the brown banana stock. So that is anything that is overtly Christmas. When it comes to the Christmas stock, my biggest advice to you is that always ask yourself the following question: which is going to be more of a problem, if I have too much of this stock or if I don't have enough? If it is something that is super seasonal, then having too much could be an issue, because if you don't sell it all, you'll be left with it after Christmas. You may have to discount it heavily or put it away and hope it doesn't get shop soiled or damaged before next Christmas when you can pull it out again. So that can be an issue. It can be something that eats up a lot of cash. However, if you have an item which sells all year round, but happens to sell lots at Christmas because it's your best seller, but there's nothing overtly Christmassy about it, it may be worse for you if you don't have enough, because you'll be leaving money on the table. So those are the kinds of products that I would err on the side of being generous when you're ordering them, as opposed to your seasonal ones where I would be more cautious. My two biggest tips when it comes to managing your stock at Christmas is, number one, have a plan. And number two, make sure that you ask yourself that question. For everything that you're placing an order on, ask yourself, is it worse if I have too much or if I have too little? And then adjust your order accordingly. Next up on the strategic plan, marketing and promotional strategies. Now, this is really going to be something that comes into having your Christmas calendar as well, having all of your activities and social media posts and product launches all mapped out. It's well worth your time really thinking for each one of your marketing channels. So email marketing, do you have a plan for what you're going to be sending and when? Do you have social media campaigns planned out? Do you know what you want to be saying? Do you know what each individual one of the platforms is going to be doing for you? What role is it going to be playing? Have you thought about anything that is Christmas themed? Have you thought about how you're going to talk about the various different types of gifting that you have, or self-gifting, or preparing your Christmas table? Have you thought about the themes and everything else that your customer is going to be concerned with? This is where doing that ideal customer work can come in really handy when it comes to looking at your Christmas promotions. If you want to know more about the the theory about planning Christmas promotions or things to think about. Last year, episode number 116 talked about Christmas promotions. So you can have a look at that. Again, this will be something that we're going to be covering in the Resilient Retail Club, especially during our Christmas summit. We're going to be having a specific session just for our Christmas promotions. So definitely do check that out for members. And again, if you want to join us for this Christmas summit, it kicks off on the 18th of September, and you can go to resilientretailclub.com and sign up there. And then the final point about strategic planning is making sure that you have an idea of what you're going to measure and how you're going to adapt. If you put together your plan for Christmas, we're talking about a pretty extensive period of time. The fourth quarter is 13 full weeks. So we're talking about October, November, December. Have a clear idea of what you should be measuring when, what you're going to make adjustments with. October, it's definitely worth putting a date in your diary in late October to have a look and see how things are going so far and decide if you want to make any adjustments. Make sure that you've got some flexibility, explore if you can get into stock last minute, for example. Think about maybe some promotional contingencies. So I'm not a big fan of excessive discounting. And when you plan out your Christmas promotions, I would certainly advise against planning too many. You should only really have one blanket promotion for the whole fourth quarter, as far as I'm concerned. Blanket promotion being where you offer money off everything. It is worthwhile just having some things up your sleeve. If sales aren't going the way that you want, or you are looking like you're going to be left with more stock than you want, specifically if the stock is very seasonal, then I would highly suggest having some contingency plans up your sleeve. Some promotions that you could switch on if you needed to. Again, when I worked in the strategic planning for Christmas for £100 million retailers, this was part of what we were doing. We would have our marketing plan, but we'd also have a contingency if things didn't quite work out. In summary then, take the time to set yourself clear objectives, because that will help give you the biggest chance of success. And it's well worth it, because you could be taking up to half or even more than half of your annual sales in these last 3 months. So it is well worth your time. Make sure you start by analysing your past performance. Have a look at your target audience. Think about your ideal customer and how they're feeling and how they're going to be feeling at Christmas. Make sure you've got a holiday calendar. And again, inside the club, you've got access to our Christmas planner. Have a look at your stock. Make sure you've got a plan and ask yourself the key question about whether it's better to have too much or not enough. Make sure you've got marketing promotional strategies mapped out, and make sure you've got some flexibility in key points in your diary when you're going to review KPIs. And if all of this sounds like a lot and you would like some support, then do head over to resilientretailclub.com, take a look on the membership page, and come join us for the Christmas Sales Summit. We have got some amazing expert sessions. We've also got then a whole implementation week where we're going to have co-working, so you can work with other product business owners on your plans. We have also got a Christmas promotional planning session, as well as our Christmas strategy session, and so much more. If you've got any questions, then do just drop us an email. You can email support@resilientretailclub.com to find out more. We'd be happy to answer your questions. Thank you so much for listening. If you have a moment to rate and review the podcast, it makes absolute world of difference. If you rate the podcast in Spotify or rate and review in Apple Podcasts, for example. And of course, if you subscribe or follow, you'll be the first to know about each new episode. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, then I invite you to check out resilientretailclub.com. The Resilient Retail Club is the membership for anyone wanting to start, grow or scale a profitable product business. No more trawling Google trying to find the answers to your questions, or wading through general business advice that speaks mainly to service-based businesses. Whether you're still at the idea stage or you've been going for a while but want to get more focused and organised when it comes to your business, the Resilient Retail Club is the place for you. With a library of courses tailored to creative product businesses, several live sessions a month, and a supportive and active community, the Resilient Retail Club is the perfect membership to help you hit your goals faster. Check it out at resilientretailclub.com.